Hello. Um, uh, yeah, I have another vlog of sorts. Trying to force myself to just at least do something and try to put as much content as I can possibly muster in there. But really, I'm really just trying to get what's on my mind out and thoughts that I find somewhat significant and in the hopes that someone else would benefit from them, and if nothing else, to give them a perspective to consider that hopefully isn't completely something they've already thought of and clearly, seen. Yeah, hopefully it's a new point of view for them, for you. And the thing I was thinking about today, which was actually from Evan Carmichael's YouTube channel. One thing I love to do is I'm really trying to put myself in an environment where it's pushing me to be better, where I'm influencing myself in a way that's pushing me towards things that I think are valuable. I know there's a saying, I've heard it both ways, and I think both are true in general, but you're as smart as your five closest friends, and I've also heard you're as rich as your five closest friends. And I think that's obviously just a saying, but I do think if there's any truth to that at all, if there's any correlation, it's because the friends around you, they have an influence on you. And I think for a lot of reasons. One, I think you compare yourself to your friends, and the way your friends talk and think, it rubs off on you, and it's hard to think differently than your friends. And I think the better relationship you have with people, you can't help but have an understanding of that mindset and be influenced by it in some way. And that's actually not what I was going to talk about, but what I was going to talk about is Evan Carmichael's channel. He had a clip on Timothy Ferriss, who's a freaking stud. Evan Carmichael, I think, is awesome. Timothy Ferriss is another person I like to try to learn from, and I'm actually reading through Timothy Ferriss's book, Tools of Titans. So far, it's a really good book. It's also not what I was planning to talk about in the video, but I think it's quality stuff, and if you haven't heard of it, I would really look into it. But basically, it's like a couple pages from really the best in the world on a lot of different topics. Like, so far, it's like business, fitness, mindsets, meditation, and just a lot of interviews that Ferriss has had with a lot of famous people, Olympians, really the world's best in a lot of different areas. It's really cool. Great book. Anyway, in the video I was watching today, Tim was talking about how, I guess, to stay motivated and to stay on top of things and to actually get something done, he was saying take small steps. Like, I think he actually gave the analogy of flossing your teeth. If you really need to floss your teeth, your dentist's telling you to do it or whatever, it's probably not going to be as useful, and you're probably going to have a less chance of actually flossing your teeth consistently if you set this harder to reach goal of flossing all your teeth for half an hour every day. But if you just tell yourself, well, I'm gonna just floss my front few teeth, then that's all I'm gonna hold myself to. You're more likely to do that, and since you're already in there just doing your front teeth, you're probably gonna do the others anyway, and you're gonna actually be more productive. You're gonna feel better about it because you did what you thought you'd do. You followed through, which is another thing I'm kind of learning about, and I think it's really interesting because dopamine, which I feel like a lot of people hear about dopamine in a negative way. They hear it in association with certain drugs, and rightfully so, because dopamine is incredibly addictive from what I understand. The cool thing about it is, like, if you can get dopamine, if you can become addicted from something that's actually healthy, that is awesome. And basically, something that a lot of people, you get a high off of, is completing a task. Feeling yourself do something that's bringing yourself towards a goal, towards something. Like, you could be in a terrible position, but as soon as you see yourself doing something that's getting you out of it, even though it's relatively, worse than maybe your friends, since you've made that next step up, you feel good about it, and you can kind of use your dopamine. This isn't exactly how Timothy Ferriss explained it, by the way, but this is my video, and hopefully it's a little unique. You can actually use, I'm convinced you can actually use your dopamine as a way of improving yourself. And I think Timothy Ferriss is right on when he's saying set little goals for you. For yourself. Don't, I'm going to lose 10 pounds this week. I'm not going to eat any sugar, blah, blah, blah. Just make one tiny step. Commit yourself to that. And let yourself feel freaking good. If you want, write a list, then cross it off the list, and then just feel the goodness of, yeah, man, I accomplished something. Yeah, I don't know. I think I just been thinking about that. I watched the video this morning, and I really want to apply that. I haven't thought of it in that way before at all. How useful just committing myself to something small can actually get me farther than trying to commit myself to something huge. I do think on the other side, and this is something that Evan Carmichael said in his video, was dream big, but only force yourself, commit to tiny steps. Like, you got to do them, try to do them, every day. I'm just gonna do this a little bit. Evan Carmichael gave a analogy of when he wanted to buy a modern house, I think is what he said. He just started researching houses, and he started researching land to buy on. He just started doing it, and the next thing you know, like, all those tiny steps added up to him having a house. And I can totally see that being the way it is, and I can very easily see in my own head how these grandiose ideas seem so freaking huge that it's hard for me to do anything, because I get overwhelmed by the idea and the amount of work and all the details. And it's just, let's just start. Like, let's just look into this today. Let's like, one thing I want to do is I'm kind of curious to find out about selling things on Amazon or Shopify, using maybe Alibaba or AliExpress or some kind of drop shipping company. I don't know anything about it, but I want to look into it, and it would be pretty cool to have another income source from that. From the very little understanding I have, it doesn't seem impossible by any means to have a genuine side income from something like that. But do I understand it? Never use Shopify. I've used Amazon all the time, but I'm buying stuff, I'm not selling stuff. But I understand that, if I commit myself to just looking into it, looking at Amazon, set up a test Shopify account. I think you get 14 days free. Like, I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna look into this, try to find out what are the fees. I understand that I've bought a lot of stuff. Well, I've bought stuff from Alibaba, and one of the biggest downsides, I think the prices are generally good for smaller things, but they take forever. They take usually a month to get to your house. So I gotta look into, like, is it worth it? Could I set up a store when there's that delayed of a shipping time of my drop shipping company? Could I find a way around that delay? I don't know any of these things, but I'm just gonna start tackling it one little bit at a time, and just try to decide with an educated guess, if it's worth it. And I think the best way for me ever to have something like that is to just start taking small steps in that direction. That's just an example, but real example of something I'm thinking of right now. And another one is this vlogs. Like, I have another YouTube channel, really small. It's the same thing. I'm just, like, within basically my moral standards. I don't want to lie. I don't want to cheat. I just want to do well, but I can't. I'm not going to buy a really expensive camera. I'm not going to, spend a ton of money on a computer to edit with. I don't have those resources. I don't think that would be justifiable, but I can I have properties and I have a lot of things. I can take videos of myself, and that's basically what I did with my other channels. When I'd work on stuff, if I could, I'd take a video of it, and hopefully it would help someone else. And it's actually, I think, been totally worth it. And I'm still kind of exploring that, just taking tiny steps. And for anything to happen, I have to start somewhere. And that's the same with these vlogs. I have no idea if really exactly what I'm doing, but I'm doing something, and hopefully over time I get better at it. And like I said, I can already see I really don't have a lot to lose. I think these vlogs are good for me. I think it's good for me to get stuff out. I would love for people to help from them, be helped by them, and I'd love to hopefully, bring value to other people and have a small amount of YouTube ad revenue from it. I understand the revenue is so small. Unless my channel actually blows up, it's going to be it's not even almost worth mentioning. But for that to ever happen, for me to ever have a chance of having a channel that is, people really value watching, and I actually have some kind of ad revenue from, I have to start. And so that's what I want to do. I have no idea how long this is going to last. But I'm gonna keep vlogging and uploading. Anyway, just to reiterate, I do see, and I hope that I've explained it well enough. I think taking tiny steps, having a big goal but taking tiny steps and just committing yourself to that, let the dopamine kick in when you do those things and encourage you to keep taking more steps. And live in the fact that you're doing something to better your position. And I think it's a great. It almost doesn't sound like that's what someone incredibly successful like Tim Ferriss or Evan Carmichael, I don't know if they're incredibly successful, but relatively successful. They are definitely farther than I am, and I would like to be where they are. And honestly, I think that is something I really want to be, finding people that are where I want to be. And I want to be learning from them. I want to copy what they've done, listen to what they say. And that's another way of, I think you get dopamine from that too. But basically, I want to take small steps. And I can see in other areas of my life where that's what I've done. I just haven't really consciously thought of it this way. And anyway, that's what's on my mind now. Thanks for watching. If this was helpful, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.